What's up, everybody? Good morning to you. I hope you guys can see me. Knocking things over. Whatever. So, anyways, this is just going to be a super little itty bitty video. It's the 4th of July. Lots to cover on the video I'm doing from yesterday with Bakunin and Spooner and consent and the Declaration of Independence. But this video is actually about the rift that exists between Ecuador and Mexico. And Ecuador had some corrupt politicians, a corrupt president, I think it was, hide himself inside of the Mexican consulate in Ecuador trying to escape Ecuadorian justice. And so there is a problem that exists between the two countries. But this is about the World Cup. My wife just tells me right now she's having some issues with some of her friends, upset because Mexico beat down Ecuador's national soccer team, or football, if you're everywhere except in the United States. And they're blaming their loss against Mexico on having been threatened by the Cartel de Jalisco de Nueva Generación. They said that the CJNG, or CJNG, Cartel de Jalisco. I get, when you try to speak English or Spanish, it comes out opposite. J is J and K is G. So CJNG threatened the Ecuadorian national team, and that is why they lost. I'm just going to say this. I obviously have several deep ties to Mexico. We've got best friends there, family there, a home there, and I will be retiring in Mexico. I go to Mexico. I was just there. I keep it secret when I do and don't go to Mexico, but I have deep ties to Mexico. I'm just going to say this. If you are going to play a national sport and then you're going to sit there and blame your losses on the threats or implicated threats, you knew what was going on with the cartels in Mexico before you even got on a plane and flew up from South America, man. Mexico's crushing people right now. And you know what? I'm going to say this. What can I say about Mexico in the World Cup? I'm going to say this. One time I was walking with my wife while she was doing a news story in a place called Sauceda de la Borda, right? It's in Zacatecas. I was in half my uniform, and I accompanied my wife because I was afraid for her safety. And I went with her, and I saw a Mexican lady with a baby hanging from her while she was washing laundry in a 55-gallon drum of water in her front little, it was like an adobe cottage, and a just dirt front yard. And I'll never forget the abject poverty that these people live in. And it's not a fault against the lady herself at all. In fact, she was a very, very kind, humble human being. And humans don't have anything to do with the circumstances that they're born into. So you can't judge anyone ever on that. But the point being is that Mexicans are a very proud, humble, noble people. And they have enough honor and respect that they would not threaten a national team coming into Mexican territory with threats of violence in order to elicit some type of outcome that wasn't. The Mexican team is so good and the Mexican people are so honorable that they don't have to try to influence the outcome of that game. They would not cheapen their dignity that way. That's not something that they would do. And so when you do that and you say that type of nonsense, and I know that this video's in English. I should do it in Spanish, but most of my audience speaks English too. Dado el hecho que muchos de ustedes sí hablan español también. Not forgetting the fact that a lot of my audience does speak Spanish, so we could do it. But I wanted to say something about that. I'm going to say something else too one time. When I was still in uniform, one time I had the opportunity to guard briefly the Mexican national selection for swimming. And there were representatives, they were all young women. There were representatives of several different states in Mexico. And Mexico really does have a varied physiology, the way the physical characteristics across many of the different states. In Jalisco and Zacatecas and other places, you have a lot of French influence. Other places, you have people that are a lot shorter or a lot taller, depending on where you're at in the country. But I remember looking at that team and thinking how proud I was to have the opportunity to guard that team in any way, shape, or form. Just because of the dignity and the dedication that those sportswomen, in that instance, handled themselves and how much work and effort they put in to being the very best they could. And so when you go and you try to cheapen something like the World Cup, and FIFA is already disgusting enough, believe me, there are plenty of problems with FIFA. Some of the calls are egregious. Iran, however you want to say it, being robbed. There is a thing that goes on that when you step onto the pitch, when you step onto the battlefield, you should have an immediate respect for your opponent or your enemy or whatever, because they're sitting out there the same way you are. And to sit there and try to make excuses for losing through cartel violence, it's beneath the level of respect and self-respect and dignity of any Latino I've ever known. Because Latinos are a pretty proud culture, and I'm not certain where that comes from, if it comes from the Spanish crown or what, but it's definitely present. You know, mañana, 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 they're always telling you tomorrow. Do you know why they do that? They tell you that because they don't want to let you down, because they like being accommodating hosts and stuff like that. Not because they're submissive or anything like that. They're definitely not. They are definitely about their business, but they're very prideful people that don't want to let you down. And it's one of the, in fact, if I had one critique of Mexican culture, and to a larger extent Latino culture as it applies, it would be that they are too accommodating, or that they're too polite, they're overly polite, because they don't want to make themselves look bad. Until you've just burnt the bridge, and then they'll definitely tell you exactly where you stand with them. But sitting there trying to blame the Ecuadorian loss from the next Ecuadorian national selection on threat of cartel violence is ridiculous, man. You're better than that. Don't go there. This entire World Cup with the added break time so the TV can milk some more money out of it. You know, it's the same with politics. Everything that's wrong with politics and sports is all derived from money and people's quest for power, and it's ridiculous. Humans are better than that. We deserve better than that. Unfortunately, this is what we've got for the time being. So my 2 cents on the Ecuadorian Mexican football team or soccer team match, but that's what it is. Cheers.